The transport ship broke through the purple cloud surrounding Veridax Prime. Inside the passenger section, Hyun pressed his nose against the window and watched the massive space station grow bigger. Next to him, his friend Nari was reading information about the academy on her small screen. Her finger moved quickly across the display. "It says here that 40% of new students get hurt in the first month," Nari said. She looked up at Hyun with worried eyes. "That's almost half of everyone who comes here." Hyun kept looking out the window. He had already read that part 3 times. The Galactic Defense Academy did not hide what it was. This place was hard. This place hurt people. Every alien species in the galaxy sent their best young warriors here. Many of them went home injured before they even finished basic training. The ship shook as it connected to the docking port. All around them, other students started picking up their bags. Hyun looked at the different aliens. One was very tall with skin like crystal that made rainbow colors. Another had 6 arms and eyes that looked everywhere at once. Near the back, someone with blue fur was helping a small lizard creature reach the storage compartment above the seats. "First humans in 15 years, Nari whispered to him. "Everyone will be watching us." The last human students had quit after only 2 weeks. People said they were too weak for the training. Since then, humans had a bad reputation across the galaxy. Other species called them softskins, the fragile ones. Too weak, too emotional, too easy to break. Hyun had heard aliens talking about humans during the flight. Some did not even try to be quiet about it. The door opened and noise rushed in. Hundreds of students filled the docking bay, all walking toward the main entrance. Hyun picked up his bag and stepped into the crowd. He was normal height for a human, which made him shorter than many aliens but taller than others. Nari stayed close beside him. Her eyes looked at everything. A loud voice cut through all the noise. "New students, make lines by your species." The speaker was huge, at least 3 meters tall with skin that looked like living crystal. Colors moved under the surface, changing from blue to green to orange. This must be a Krillian. Everyone knew Krillians were almost impossible to hurt. The instructor wore a uniform with symbols that meant high military rank. "I am Instructor Veltrax," the giant alien said. "For the next 6 months I own your life. Some of you will graduate. Most will not. This is okay. Knowing when to stop is smart. Trying to be a hero when you should quit is how you die." The students organized themselves into groups by species. Hyun and Nari stood alone. They were the only humans. Across from them, 5 insect-like aliens clicked their mouths together while looking at the humans. One with a dark green shell seemed to be laughing. "The soft skins actually came," one of the insects said in the common language everyone used in space. His voice sounded sharp and clicking through the translator. "I think they will quit in 3 days." Nari's jaw got tight, but Hyun touched her arm softly. "Not worth fighting about. Not yet." Veltrax led them through the academy building. The place was enormous with hallways that seemed to go on forever. They walked past training rooms where older students practiced fighting moves. They saw medical rooms with equipment Hyun had only seen in books. Healing tanks filled with blue liquid, machines that could fix almost any injury, emergency sleeping pods lined up against the wall. "You see, we have many medical facilities," Veltrax said as they walked. "This is necessary. Training here causes real injuries, broken bones, torn muscles, sometimes worse. We can heal almost anything, but healing takes time. If you spend too much time healing, you fall behind. Fall too far behind and you must leave." They entered a big round room with seats going up in circles. Veltrax stood in the center and told everyone to sit. Hyun and Nari found seats in the middle section. The insect alien who had laughed at them sat directly behind them. Hyun could hear the creature's mouth parts clicking. "Tomorrow you begin the gauntlet," Veltrax announced. The word made everyone start whispering. 3 kilometers of dangerous terrain. Gravity that changes. Magnetic storms, acid rain. Combat drones with real ammunition. Your goal is simple. Reach the end. Together with your squad. A hologram appeared above Veltrax showing the obstacle course. Hyun studied it carefully. The course looked terrible. Each section seemed designed to hurt students in different ways. The gravity areas would stress bones and muscles. The magnetic storms would mess up navigation equipment. The acid rain would burn skin. The combat drones could break ribs even with practice bullets. "We will assign squads tonight," Veltrax continued. "You will train with your squad for the next month. Trust them, protect them, or fail together. There is no individual success here. You win as a team or you leave alone. After the meeting, students went to their sleeping quarters. Hyun and Nari shared a small room with basic furniture and one window showing the stars. Nari started unpacking immediately while Hyun stood at the window. "What are you thinking?" Nari asked him. "That everyone thinks we will fail," Hyun said quietly. "So what? So we will not fail," Nari smiled. "That is the right attitude." That night, the squad assignments came to their data screens. Hyun and Nari were placed in Squad 7, with 5 other students from different species. The insect alien who had mocked them was on the list. His name was Quintal. He was a Vexari. There was also Lyra, an Aquilin with feathered wings. She was listed as their squad leader. The other members were Dax, a heavy world alien with thick gray skin, Mira, a small water creature with blue-green scales, and Kento, who looked almost human except he had 3 eyes and silver hair. Hyun lay in his bed and looked at the ceiling. Tomorrow would hurt. He knew that. The gauntlet was designed to injure people, to test their limits, to show them real pain in a controlled way. Every species had biological responses to injury, pain sensors that made them stop before they hurt themselves too badly. Humans had those sensors too, but humans also had something else, a stubborn ability to keep moving even when every part of their body screamed to stop. Hyun's grandfather had told him stories about ancient human hunters, how old humans would chase animals for hours or even days until the animal fell down from exhaustion. The humans never stopped. They just kept going. Tomorrow, the galaxy was going to learn something about humans. Not that they were the strongest, not that they were the toughest, but that they were the most stubborn creatures to ever leave Earth. Hyun closed his eyes and tried to sleep. The gauntlet was waiting. Morning came too fast. Hyun woke up to alarm sounds echoing through the halls. Around him, hundreds of students were getting ready for the gauntlet. The air smelled like fear and sweat mixed together. In the equipment room, Instructor Veltrax checked every student's gear personally. When he reached Hyun and Nari, his crystal face reflected their nervous faces back at them. "Humans," Veltrax said in a flat voice. "Your species has not finished the gauntlet in 15 years. The last humans who tried spent 3 weeks in healing tanks." "We know the numbers, sir," Nari said firmly. Veltrax's colors changed to something that might have meant approval. "Good. Fear with knowledge is useful. Confidence without knowledge kills." He gave them each a small device. "Biomonitors. If your body reaches critical danger levels, we will pull you out automatically. This is not optional. We train warriors here, not dead bodies." Squad 7 met outside the gauntlet entrance. Hyun finally saw all his teammates clearly. Lyra was tall and graceful with silver feathers that caught the light. Her wings were folded against her back. Quintel stood nearby, his dark green shell shining. His species had 4 legs and 2 arms with mouth parts that clicked constantly. Dax was massive with thick gray skin. Mira was small with blue-green scales. Kento looked mostly human except for his 3rd eye and silver hair. "Listen carefully," Lyra said, taking charge immediately. "We stay together, no heroes. No rushing ahead. We move as one unit or we do not move at all." Quintel's mouth parts clicked in what might have been laughter. "Easy to say now. Let us see if the soft skins can keep up when the pain starts." Before Hyun could answer, the entrance doors opened. Beyond them was a long corridor that seemed to stretch into darkness. Warning lights flashed on the walls. "Begin." Veltrax's voice came from speakers above them. Squad 7 entered together. The first section seemed simple, just a straight path. But Hyun immediately felt something wrong. His steps felt heavier than they should. They were in a high gravity zone. 1.5 gravity, Kento said, reading his scanner. "It will increase to 2.0 by the end of this section." For Hyun and Nari, who had trained on Mars at low gravity, this was hard but possible. For Dax, who came from a high-gravity planet, this was nothing. But Mira was struggling already. Her species evolved in water where gravity did not matter as much. "Dax, help Mira," Lyra ordered. The big alien moved immediately and offered his arm for support. They pushed through the gravity zone and entered the magnetic storm section. Here, the air crackled with energy. Purple lightning jumped between metal poles. The biomonitors on their wrists sparked and glitched. Navigation equipment went crazy. "Stay away from the metal," Nari shouted over the roaring static. "Move between the lightning strikes." They timed their movements, running between lightning bolts. It was like dancing through a storm. Hyun's hair stood up from the electricity in the air. His heart pounded from excitement, not fear. This was real. This was happening. They were halfway through the magnetic storm when everything went wrong. A huge lightning bolt hit one of the overhead support beams. Metal screamed as the beam twisted and fell. Lyra shouted a warning, but there was no time. The beam crashed down directly on Hyun's left leg below the knee, pinning him to the ground. The pain hit him like a physical force, white-hot and all-consuming. Hyun heard something crack inside his leg. The sound felt more than heard. His vision went gray at the edges. Extraction. We need extraction. Lyra was screaming into her communicator. Medical drones appeared from hidden doors in the walls. Their red emergency lights flashed. They moved toward Hyun with mechanical precision. Through the pain, Hyun's mind started working. He looked at the situation automatically. The beam was heavy, but not impossibly heavy. His leg was broken badly, but there was no blood spurting out. No bone sticking through skin. Painful, but not immediately life-threatening. Around him, his squad members had frozen in shock. Quintal's mouth parts had stopped clicking. Mira looked like she might faint. Even Lyra seemed paralyzed by what had happened. Hyun looked at the beam pinning him. Then at the medical drones coming closer. Then at the checkpoint marker he could see 300 meters ahead through the storm. No, Hyun said. Everyone stared at him. No what? Lyra asked. No extraction. Hyun grabbed the beam with both hands. His leg screamed in protest as he tried to lift it. Pain shot through his entire body like lightning, worse than anything in the storm around them. But the beam shifted slightly. Are you crazy? Quintal clicked. Your leg is crushed. It is broken, Hyun corrected through gritted teeth. Not crushed. There is a difference. He pushed again and the beam rolled off his leg. Hyun immediately grabbed his lower leg, feeling along the bone. Definitely broken. Probably the smaller bone. Maybe the big bone too. His medical training from prep school ran through his mind automatically. Nari dropped to her knees beside him. Hyun, you cannot do this. I can, he interrupted. He looked around and found a piece of metal that was straight enough. Nari, I need your belt and that metal piece. You are going to make a splint? Nari's eyes went wide. Here, now? We are 300 meters from the checkpoint, Hyun said, already working despite the pain. His hands moved with practiced efficiency. Straighten the leg. Ignore the pain. Place the splint. Wrap it tight with the belt. We did not come here to quit 300 meters from success. The medical drones hovered closer, but Hyun waved them away. I am mobile. No extraction needed. This is against protocol, one drone said in a mechanical voice. Your pain levels are at 94% of maximum threshold. Note my refusal of medical assistance, Hyun said formally. He grabbed a bent pipe from the debris and used it to push himself upright. Standing on one leg, using the pipe as a crutch, he looked at his shocked squad members. Are we doing this or not? Lyra's expression changed from shock to something else. Something that might have been respect or might have been fear. Hyun could not tell and did not care. Squad 7, Lyra said slowly. We continue. They moved forward into the storm. Hyun hobbled on his makeshift crutch. Each step sent fresh waves of pain through his broken leg. His biomonitor flashed warnings constantly, but he kept moving. Behind him, he could feel his squad's eyes on his back, watching, wondering. Maybe starting to understand something they had not understood before. Humans were called soft skins. The fragile ones. The species that broke too easily. But what the galaxy did not understand was that breaking and stopping were two different things. Hyun could break. He had broken. His leg was proof of that. But stopping? That was a choice. And he chose to keep walking. The magnetic storm section ended. Ahead lay more challenges. The acid rain zone. The combat drones. The final checkpoint. Hyun adjusted his grip on the makeshift crutch and kept hobbling forward. His squad followed. Not because they had to, but because something had changed. They had just witnessed something that should not be possible. A creature with a shattered leg, walking forward through agony that should have forced unconsciousness. And if Hyun could do that, maybe they could push themselves further than they thought possible too. The gauntlet was not over. But Squad 7 was not quitting. Not now, not ever. The magnetic storm section ended and Squad 7 came out into a red-lit hallway. Emergency lights made everything look like blood. Hyun leaned heavily on his bent pipe crutch, breathing hard. Sweat poured down his face. His leg felt like it was burning from the inside. Rest period, Lyra announced, checking her data screen. 2 minutes before the next section. Hyun lowered himself to sit against the wall. He kept his splinted legs stretched out straight. Now that he had stopped moving, the pain felt even worse. His whole body shook slightly. Not from fear, but from the effort of not screaming. Nari knelt beside him with a water bottle. Drink. You will pass out if you do not drink water. Hyun drank. The water helped a little. He could think more clearly now. Around him, the rest of Squad 7 stared at him with strange expressions. Quintal's mouth parts were completely still. Mira's eyes were huge. Even Dax, who usually showed no emotion, looked disturbed. How are you doing this? Kento asked finally. His third eye blinked separately from his other two. Your biomonitor says your pain sensors are at maximum. That should trigger automatic shock response. Should, Hyun agreed. He did not explain more because he was not sure he could explain it properly. How do you tell someone that pain is just information, that it tells you something is damaged, but does not control whether you move or stay still? My people have high pain tolerance, Dax said slowly. But even we have limits. Biology forces us to stop before we cause permanent damage. He looked at Hyun with something like worry. Do humans not have this? We have it, Nari said quietly. We just ignore it better. Lyra's wings moved with agitation. This is crazy. In my species, an injury like this would trigger automatic shock coma. It is a survival mechanism. It keeps us from making injuries worse. Maybe that works on your world, Hyun said. He used the crutch to push himself back to standing. His legs screamed in protest, but he was getting used to that now. The pain had become like background noise, loud, impossible to ignore, but no longer the only thing he could focus on. On Earth, if you stopped moving, you died. So we learned not to stop. The 2 minutes ended. Ahead, the next section opened. This was the acid rain zone. Through the doorway, Hyun could see dark clouds under artificial lighting. The smell of chemicals burned his nose even from here. Environmental suits, Lyra ordered. They each pulled on thin, protective layers that would protect them from the acid, but the suits only covered their bodies. Faces remained exposed in case they needed breathing equipment. They entered the acid rain zone in tight formation. The rain started immediately, falling in heavy drops that hissed and steamed where they hit the ground. Hyun felt drops hit his face and neck. It burned, but not unbearably. The suit protected his body, but every exposed bit of skin felt like it was being stung by insects. The ground here was dangerous. Wet metal grating that was slippery and corroded. Hyun's crutch slipped twice in the first 30 meters. Each time he caught himself, but each recovery sent jolts of pain through his broken leg. His vision blurred with tears that he told himself were from the chemical burns, not the pain. Timing, Nari said urgently. She had noticed something. The rain comes in waves. 15 seconds of heavy rain, then 5 seconds of lighter rain. We can move faster during the light periods. They adjusted their pace. They waited out heavy rain under whatever cover they could find, then pushed forward during lighter rain. Hyun counted seconds in his head. It gave him something to focus on besides his leg. Halfway through the zone, his crutch finally broke. The bent metal pipe, already weakened, snapped under his weight. Hyun went down hard on the slippery ground. His broken leg hit metal, and the pain was so intense he actually passed out for a moment. When his vision cleared, Nari was there. She had grabbed his arm and was trying to help him up, but without the crutch, standing seemed impossible. Leave me, Hyun said. Go to the checkpoint. Come back with proper medical equipment. Absolutely not, Nari said. Squad moves together. That is what Lyra said. Lyra herself appeared on Hyun's other side. Her expression was determined. She is right. No one gets left behind. She looked at Dax. You are the strongest. Can you carry him? Wait, Hyun protested. But Dax was already moving. The heavy worlder simply picked Hyun up and threw him over one massive shoulder. Save your pride, Dax rumbled. We are finishing this together. They moved through the rest of the acid rain zone with Dax carrying Hyun. Hyun hated every second of it. Hated being the burden. Hated that his injury had slowed everyone down. But he also could not help feeling something else. Gratitude. His squad was not leaving him behind. They had seen him try to push through alone, and now they were helping him finish what he started. The acid rain zone ended, and they entered the final section. Combat drones. These were the worst because they actively tried to hurt you. Practice rounds, yes, but practice rounds fired at high speed could still break ribs or crack skulls. Dax lowered Hyun to the ground. You need to move on your own here. I cannot dodge drones while carrying you. Hyun nodded. Without a crutch, he would have to hop on one leg. He tested it carefully. Possible, but slow. Very slow. The drones appeared from hidden doors in the walls, round metal spheres with multiple weapon ports. They opened fire immediately. The squad scattered, running in zigzag patterns to avoid the shots. Hyun hopped forward, using his arms for balance. A drone locked onto him and fired. The practice round hit his shoulder hard enough to spin him around. He caught himself before falling, ignored the fresh pain, and kept moving. Another drone. Another shot. This one hit his thigh on his good leg. Hyun stumbled but did not fall. He could see the checkpoint now. 100 meters away, just 100 meters, Nari appeared beside him, offering a shoulder to lean on. Together they dodged and weaved through drone fire. Quintal used his forelegs to kick drones away from them. Lyra's wings let her leap and glide, drawing fire away from injured Hyun. The checkpoint terminal was right there. 20 meters, 10, 5. Hyun reached out and slapped his hand on the scanner. The terminal beeped. Green lights flashed. Success. Squad 7 complete, the terminal announced. Time 57 minutes 43 seconds. Hyun collapsed. His leg simply gave out and he fell to the metal floor. Everything hurt. His broken leg, his burned face, his bruised shoulder and thigh. Every part of him screamed for rest. Medical teams rushed in immediately. Proper medical teams this time, with stretchers and scanning equipment. A medic ran a device over Hyun's leg and made a low whistling sound. Complete fracture of both bones. Displacement, tissue damage, and microfractures throughout. How did you walk on this? Hopped mostly, Hyun said. Then everything went gray and he finally let unconsciousness take him. When he woke up 8 hours later, he was floating in a healing tank. The blue liquid surrounded him completely, warm and somehow breathable. His leg did not hurt anymore. Through the clear walls of the tank, he could see Instructor Veltrax standing with a data screen, reading information. The instructor noticed Hyun was awake. Those crystal features showed nothing, but the colors shifting under the surface seemed different than before. More orange than blue. Your bone structure is fully regenerated, Veltrax said. You will be released tomorrow morning. Then we need to have a very serious conversation about humans and their complete lack of self-preservation instincts. Hyun would have laughed if he could. Instead, he just floated in the healing liquid and let his body finish repairing itself. He had completed the gauntlet. That was all that mattered. Outside the medical bay, word was already spreading through the academy. The human who broke his leg and walked it off. The soft skin who refused extraction. The student who redefined what it meant to endure. No one called humans fragile anymore. A new name was spreading through the halls, the enduring ones, and everyone wanted to know more about these strange creatures who could break and still keep moving forward. 2 days later, Hyun walked out of the medical bay on his own 2 legs. The bone had grown back perfectly. The tissue damage was healed. According to the medical staff, there would be no lasting problems at all. But the doctors had said to rest for 5 days before returning to training. Hyun took 2. When he entered the training facility on the 3rd morning, every conversation stopped. Hundreds of students from dozens of species turned to look at him. The silence was uncomfortable. Hyun kept his face neutral and walked to his squad's assigned area. You are back early, Lyra said. Her silver feathers moved slightly. The medical recommendation was 5 days minimum. I am cleared for light duty, Hyun said. This was technically true. The doctors had cleared him for light activity. They just had not expected him to interpret that as full training. Quintal approached. His mouth parts clicked in a pattern Hyun now recognized as thoughtfulness. The alien stopped directly in front of Hyun and did something unexpected. He lowered his head in what was clearly a gesture of respect. I called you soft skin, Quintal said. I said you would quit in 3 days. I was wrong. Your skin may be soft, but your spirit is harder than my shell. He extended one clawed hand. I request permission to train with you as equals. Hyun took the offered hand. Permission granted, the tension broke. Other students began approaching. Some wanted to ask questions. Others just wanted to see the human who had become the topic of every conversation in the academy. Hyun answered what he could and avoided what he could not. The real change came that afternoon in tactical classroom. Instructor Veltrax stood at the front. Behind him, a holographic display showed Earth rotating slowly. Today we discuss human military history, Veltrax announced. Given recent events, it seems appropriate to educate you all on what makes this species unique. The display changed, showing ancient human warriors, then soldiers from various Earth wars, then modern peacekeepers and defense forces. Humans are not the strongest species, Veltrax continued. Krillians have denser bones. Vexari have natural armor. Heavy worlders have superior muscles. He paused. But humans have something else. Something no other known species possesses to the same degree. The display showed a human soldier with a missing arm, still fighting. Another showed a pilot landing a damaged ship while bleeding from multiple wounds. A third showed a medic treating others despite her own severe injuries. They continue, Veltrax said simply. When biology says stop, when pain says surrender, when common sense says withdraw, humans continue. This is not courage. This is not bravery. This is something deeper, a fundamental refusal to acknowledge limitations. Lyra raised her wing for permission to speak. Veltrax nodded at her. Why? Lyra asked. What creates this trait? For my people, our shock response prevents us from worsening injuries. It is a survival mechanism. Why would humans evolve to ignore such basic protective instincts? Nari stood up. She had volunteered to give a presentation on human evolution specifically for this class. A holographic Earth appeared, zooming in on grasslands. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, Nari explained. Our ancestors did not have claws or armor or venom. We had endurance. We would chase prey for hours, sometimes days, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. Stopping meant starving, so we evolved to never stop. She showed images of humans running marathons and extreme endurance events. Even now, we do this for fun. We run distances that would kill most species. We climb mountains in conditions that should be impossible. We push our bodies past every warning sign because somewhere deep in our genetics we remember that stopping equals death. Kento raised his hand. But does this not cause permanent damage? If you ignore your body's warning systems, do you not risk complete failure? Yes, Nari said honestly. Humans have been known to literally run until their hearts stop. Lift until they tear muscles from bone. Fight until they die from injuries they could have survived with rest. Our ability to ignore pain is both our greatest strength and our greatest weakness. The classroom was silent. Hyun could feel dozens of eyes on him and Nari, not hostile now, not mocking. Something else. A kind of horrified respect. After class, Hyun walked to the training grounds alone. He needed to move, to test his healed leg, to prove to himself that everything still worked properly. But he was not alone for long. Quintal found him at the weights section. I have a question. When you were walking on that broken leg, what were you thinking? Hyun considered lying, saying something noble about duty or teamwork. But Quintal deserved honesty. I was thinking that it hurt. Every single step hurt worse than the one before. And I was thinking that I did not care. How is that possible? Pain and damage are different things, Hyun explained. He picked up a weight and began basic exercises, feeling the familiar burn in his muscles. Pain tells you something is wrong. Damage is actually being hurt worse. My leg was damaged, yes, but continuing to walk on it would not make the break worse. It was already broken. The pain was just information. Quintal's mouth parts worked silently. My people value endurance. We have rituals where young Vexari must hold painful positions for hours to prove their worth. But what you did was beyond endurance. That was something else. Stubbornness, Hyun said simply. Humans are incredibly stubborn. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. No one called humans softskins anymore. A new term circulated through the academy. The enduring ones. It was not an official name, but it stuck anyway. Squad 7's training intensified. Veltrax seemed to take personal interest in their development, pushing them harder than other squads. But now when Hyun struggled with an exercise or took a hit during sparring, his squad members did not rush to help. They waited, watched, let him push through on his own because they understood now. Helping too quickly was its own kind of insult. One evening, Hyun found Lyra sitting alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He sat beside her silently. I've been thinking, Lyra said after a long moment, about biological limits. My entire life I have accepted that shock coma is inevitable with severe injury. It is just how our bodies work. But watching you, I wonder if some of our limits are only limits because we believe they are. Maybe, Hyun said. But maybe your shock response keeps you from doing permanent harm. Maybe it is not a weakness but a strength. You really believe that? Every species evolved differently for good reasons, Hyun said. Humans evolved to ignore pain because on Earth stopping meant death. But that same trait makes us do incredibly stupid things. We push past the point of wisdom into stupidity regularly. He looked at his hands. I walked on a broken leg. That was not smart. It was stubborn and potentially dangerous. I was lucky the damage was not worse. Lyra's wings rustled softly. But you made it to the checkpoint. Yes, Hyun agreed. We made it. The next day brought the announcement everyone had been waiting for. The War Games. A 3-day combined training exercise that would test everything they had learned. Squad tactics, survival skills, combat readiness, and most importantly, the ability to function under extreme stress. Instructor Veltrax stood before the assembled students and explained the rules. You will be inserted into hostile territory simulation. Objectives must be completed. Casualties must be minimized. Success is measured not by individual glory but by squad coordination. The top-performing squad will receive the Veridax Star, the Academy's highest honor. Hyun looked at his squad members. Lyra met his eyes and nodded. Quintel's mouth parts clicked with determination. Nari cracked her knuckles. Dax, Mira, and Kento all looked ready. Squad 7, Lyra said quietly. Time to show them what endurance really means. They called themselves Endurance Squad now unofficially. And they were ready to prove they deserved the name. The War Games would be their chance to show the galaxy that what Hyun had done was not a one-time accident. It was the human way, and now it was becoming their squad's way too. The War Games began at dawn. 12 squads loaded into transport shuttles and were dropped across a massive simulation zone that covered hundreds of square kilometers. Real terrain, real weather, real exhaustion. Only the weapons were simulated, firing training rounds that hurt but did not kill. Squad 7 found themselves dropped in a dense forest region with 3 primary objectives. First, secure a communications relay station. Second, retrieve supply containers scattered across their assigned territory. Third, reach the extraction point 80 kilometers north within 72 hours. Standard search and retrieve mission, Lyra said, studying the map on her data screen. Except for the distance and the fact that enemy drones will be hunting us the entire time. They moved out in standard formation. Quintel took point with his superior senses. Dax and Kento handled heavy equipment. Mira used her small size to scout ahead. Lyra commanded from the center with Hyun and Nari on the sides as tactical support. The first objective went smoothly. They reached the communications relay, disabled the automated defenses, and activated the beacon. One objective completed within 4 hours. But as they moved toward the scattered supply containers, things began to go wrong. A drone patrol found them in an open valley. Training rounds rained down before they could reach cover. Mira took a direct hit to her back and went down hard. The impact cracked her suit and bruised her spine. She could move but barely. I can walk, Mira insisted as Dax helped her up. But her movements were slow and painful. They retrieved 3 supply containers over the next 8 hours, but Mira's injury slowed them significantly. By nightfall, they had covered less than half the distance they needed to reach extraction on time. They made camp in a rocky area that provided some shelter. Hyun checked Mira's injury while Nari prepared food. The bruising was severe and had spread across her entire lower back. Medical extraction is available, Lyra reminded Mira. There is no shame in admitting you need treatment. Mira's scales changed color and what Hyun had learned indicated embarrassment or anger. I saw Hyun walk on a broken leg. I can handle a bruised spine. That is not a competition you should try to win, Hyun said quietly. Different species, different tolerances. But same squad, Mira replied stubbornly. I am not quitting. Morning brought worse news. During the night, another squad had raided their supply containers and destroyed their extraction shuttle in the simulation. The computer updated their objectives automatically. New extraction point now 110 kilometers away, and they would have to cross hostile terrain to reach it. Other squads are withdrawing, Kento reported, monitoring communications. Squad 3 just called for extraction. Squad 9 is requesting medical assistance. 5 squads are still active out of 12. We continue, Lyra decided. We have the supplies. We have the skills. And we have time if we move efficiently. But efficient movement became nearly impossible by midday. Quintel took a training round to his leg joint, cracking part of his shell. He could walk, but running was agonizing. Then Kento slipped crossing a stream and dislocated his shoulder. Dax reset it immediately, but Kento could not carry his full equipment anymore. By the evening of the second day, only 2 squads remained in the exercise besides Squad 7. Their injuries were mounting. Everyone hurt somewhere. Everyone was exhausted, and they still had 60 kilometers to cover. They made camp in a cave system that night. The mood was dark. Even Lyra's usual optimism seemed dimmed. "We are not going to make it," Quintal said quietly. His mouth parts barely moved. "Face reality. Half our squad is injured. We are behind schedule. Withdrawing now is not failure. It is wisdom." "No," Mira said immediately. "We are endurance squad. We do not quit." "That is human thinking," Quintal replied. "And we are not all human." Silence fell over the cave. Hyun looked at his squad members. Mira with her bruised spine. Quintal with his cracked leg. Kento with his injured shoulder. Dax was holding up well, but even he looked worn down. Lyra's wings drooped with exhaustion. "You are right," Hyun said finally. "You are not human. But you have trained with humans. You have seen what we do when things get hard." He stood up, testing his legs. The old fracture site ached in the cold, but it held his weight. "We are not asking you to be human. We are asking if you want to see this through anyway." Nari stood beside him. "Humans are not special because we feel less pain. We feel exactly the same pain as everyone else. We just decided somewhere in our evolution that pain does not get to make our decisions for us." She looked at each squad member. "You can all walk. You can all fight. The question is not whether you are able. The question is whether you are willing." Lyra was the first to stand. "I am willing." Then Dax. Then Kento. Mira struggled to her feet with determination written across her scaled features. Finally, Quintal rose, his damaged leg clicking but holding. "Insanity," Quintal muttered. "Pure human insanity, and apparently it is contagious." They left before dawn on the final day. 60 kilometers in less than 24 hours while injured and exhausted. It should have been impossible. But they had become something more than just a squad following human members. They had become a squad that thought like humans. They moved in shifts. The less injured members helped carry equipment. When Mira's strength gave out, Dax carried her for 5 kilometers. When Quintal could not continue, Hyun and Nari took his gear and helped support his weight. When Kento's arm gave him trouble, Lyra scouted alone so he could rest. 20 kilometers from extraction, they hit their biggest obstacle. A steep mountain pass that would normally take 6 hours to cross carefully. They did not have 6 hours. "We climb fast or we do not make it," Lyra said. The climb was brutal. Every meter upward felt like torture. Hyun's old leg injury came back with intensity. Not a new fracture, but severe pain from muscles and tendons stressed beyond their limits. He could feel something grinding in his knee with each step. Not good. Possibly causing permanent damage. He kept climbing anyway. Halfway up, Mira's back gave out completely. She could not move her legs properly anymore. Dax tried to carry her, but the climb was too steep even for his strength. "Leave me," Mira said. "Call extraction. I will withdraw." "No," Hyun said. "We are going to build a harness and pull you up." They used equipment straps and climbing rope to create an improvised sling. Dax and Kento pulled from above while Hyun and Nari pushed from below. Lyra flew up and down the cliff, securing the rope at intervals. Quintal, despite his cracked leg, used his four-legged stability to anchor their progress. It took them 3 hours to climb what should have taken one. But they made it to the top of the pass together. The extraction point was 10 kilometers away. They had 4 hours. Everyone was beyond exhausted, beyond pain. Operating on pure stubborn will, they ran. Not fast, not gracefully, but they ran. Hyun's knee screamed with every impact. He ignored it. Mira had no feeling in her legs and was carried between Dax and Kento. Quintal's shell made horrible grinding sounds with each step. Lyra's wings dragged because she no longer had strength to fold them properly. Nari was limping heavily on twisted ankle, but they ran. The extraction point appeared ahead. A landing zone with a beacon flashing green. 1 kilometer. 500 meters. 100. Hyun's knee finally gave out completely. Something tore inside and he went down hard. But they were 50 meters from the beacon. So close, Nari grabbed his arm. "Get up." "Cannot," Hyun admitted. "Knee is gone." "Then hop," Hyun laughed despite the pain. Or maybe because of it. He got up on his one good leg and hopped. Nari supported him on one side. Quintal hobbled over and supported the other. Together, the three of them crossed the final distance. Hyun slapped his hand on the beacon terminal. Squad 7 complete, the terminal beeped. All objectives completed. All squad members present. Time 71 hours, 58 minutes, congratulations. They collapsed together. 7 students from 7 different species, all too injured and exhausted to celebrate properly. But they had finished. Against all probability, despite mounting injuries, they had finished together. Instructor Veltrax was waiting at the landing zone with medical teams. His crystal features shifted through colors too quickly to read as he looked at the broken, exhausted squad before him. "You are either the bravest squad I have ever trained," Veltrax said slowly, "or the most foolish. I have not yet decided which. Can we be both?" Nari asked. Veltrax's colors settled into something that might have been amusement. "Perhaps. Yes, perhaps that is most accurate." 3 days later, at the Academy's graduation ceremony for basic training, Squad 7 stood together on stage. Most of them were still healing from their War Games injuries. Hyun had a brace on his knee that would stay for another week. Mira was in a support frame that helped her walk. Instructor Veltrax presented them with the Veridax Star, a medal shaped like a 7-pointed star. "This honor is rarely given," Veltrax announced to the assembled academy. "It represents not just skill or strength, but the ability to transcend individual limitations through collective will. You did not win because you were the strongest. You won because you refused to accept that winning was impossible." Later in the common area, Lyra found Hyun sitting alone looking out at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "About how much everything still hurts," Hyun said honestly.